Good evening, everybody. This is Omar Serrato. I'm joined by the famous Lauren Neidigh.
Neither of those, maybe?
It was day 16 of the Lindsay Clancy trial today, and I'll tell you what, it was a day in which the defense... oh, wait a minute. I'm hearing an echo. There we go. Yeah, maybe neither of those. Maybe one of those. Maybe not both. I don't know. But the defense went all in today with their theory, their defense theory. They are arguing both prongs of the McHugh defense. They're arguing not only was she with a mental defect, but at the time that the events occurred, it wasn't one or the other. It was she could not distinguish in the moment between right and wrong, and she couldn't conform her behavior to the law. They're arguing both prongs. Not only that, but there was some previewed testimony yesterday that I was questioning. Like, wait a minute. So, and cross-exam, he says that she only mentions the voice that one time and then never again. But then there was some insinuation that there was ripples of the voice back in December. And we're like, well, what happened with that? Well, Sisal kind of clears it up. And for the very first time ever, there's this chaplain that comes into play. And we're going to replay that testimony. But the audible male voice that was hallucinated, that has been the subject of the defense's theory of the case, manifested all the way today. So they're all in. We know the exact theory. What we don't have is witness corroboration of a second person corroborating the voice at the time, but we have at least the entrance of it. And they abruptly ended the day today after having a voir dire with this TikToker, and we can talk about that, but it wasn't the most important thing. Sisal was by far the most important witness, and I can tell you right now that it appears to me that the trial is going to be won or lost on today's testimony. Normally, I would go into my intro, but I'm not going to do my intro because I'm co-streaming with Lauren Neidigh tonight, and it would be inappropriate to do that.
It's not inappropriate. You can do it if you want.
All right, well, I'll tell you what. If that's the case...
Do it. Pull the trigger. All good.
We'll be back in 30 seconds.
Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrato with the Tilted Lawyer podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
All right. So before we get into today's testimony, there was a lot to digest, but you had a bone to pick with Billy Bush, and you just played a clip for me like 2 minutes ago.
Let me find the one. Yeah, keep going. I gotta find something.
Yeah, it was this clip, and you had some opinions about it. As I was listening to it, I had some opinions about it. I randomly caught a YouTube video. I don't even know this lady's name, but she's a big YouTuber, and she was playing this string of TikTok reels about people saying all of these things about Patrick Clancy, and it's like, yeah, I can't with this, man. I feel it myself. I could feel myself getting dumber as I'm listening to it.
This has gotten so nasty. You have TikTokers who like. There's a girl that I didn't really know her, but I was friendly-ish with her during the Baldoni coverage, and I saw that she is like full-blown accusing this guy of abuse, and she is among thousands of people who are doing that. They now have people accusing him and his new wife of being in a sex trafficking ring. That escalated, didn't it? They're trying to connect him to the Epstein files. People track down his and his wife's Venmo to send abusive messages to them with money.
All right, I'll tell you what.
Bizarre.
That's insanity. That's not the kind of thing that I would cover, but we could talk about the Billy Bush thing. Yeah. Patrick Clancy was first a bad husband, then he was neglectful, and then he was responsible for the death of the children. Then he actually killed the children, and then actually he's involved in a sex trafficking ring, and actually he's tied to Epstein. Yeah. That is an unnecessary and unwarranted escalation. What are we doing? Jesus Christ.
Stupid. A lot of it is just stupid. Okay, hold on.
I'll entertain the Billy Bush thing because it's you, but if it was not you, this would be completely ignored. I just want that to be very clear.
No, I know, but Billy is the reason I have a gripe with this is like Billy is somebody that I have been watching. I know that people know him from the Trump clip, right? The grab by the. But I didn't actually know who Billy was at that point in time, so I didn't come across him until a couple years ago, and I've been watching his show, and this is somebody I usually find to be pretty reputable. I know that, I don't know, people might disagree with me on that because I don't double check him. And now I feel like I have to all the time. Which probably would have been a good idea in the first place, but
I know him to be a washed journalist that used to be a big thing back in the mid 2000s, and then the Trump thing happened, and he's been trying to hold on to his career ever since, and now he's on to sensationalistic journalism. So hey, Godspeed to him. By the way, Maureen, I'm going to butcher this. Maureen, I can't see. It's not that I can't read; it's that I can't see. Maureen McGarry, 4191 with a 10, says, thank you for your honest wisdom. I appreciate you, young lady. Also, I didn't forget about you, Aquanetta. I accidentally unstarred your $5 super sticker. I appreciate you. Don't think I didn't see your super sticker. I did see it. I just, I don't know what happened to it. I must have accidentally clicked it. Folks, I love you all. But as you were saying, oh, we're still looking for the thing? Do you need
I'm almost there, but I like the guy is the thing. That's why I hated this, is because I don't actually want to sit here and like be like, he's a terrible person or anything like that, or like scold him. Like, I liked the guy and I'm disappointed. So that's why I wanted to kind of pick a bone with this. But
I have been disappointed in people that have been picking up that coverage. I have not wanted to talk about it just because it's not made its way or manifested itself into any form of the evidence, and the bits and pieces that I saw people talking about it was trying to twist bits and pieces of Patrick's testimony into their own narratives. And it's like, so you guys are just speculating. It's just pure on Gossip Girls style coverage. Like, this isn't for me. This is for like 12-year-old girls or boys for that. I don't know. It's for younger folks to rot their brains with. It's not for me. It's not serious coverage, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the thing is, this is kind of like, I feel like this is enabling, though, a lot of the really crazy people with TikTok platforms and stuff, and people think that it's trustworthy because they hear it from somebody who's been reporting the news for a long time, somebody they recognize, and I'm just fed up with it. So let me pull this up real quick.
All right. Everybody's waiting on you.
Sorry.
Hey, you know what? My girls have been running around calling each other lesbian all day.
Okay.
They've been playing with my soundboard. On my soundboard, I have this. Lesbian. So they're all going around calling each other lesbian.
That's a new one for them, I guess.
Well, it's funny. I know it's irresponsible, but it is funny. My wife is like, "Don't you dare."
Mm-hmm. Okay. Here's if you pull it up, I think you have to show it on the screen. So this is the first one that I saw, which like really upset. Like it wasn't like, I'm not like gonna rage out of the guy or anything, but it upset me because I thought it was not okay. So
is Patrick Clancy was a deadbeat husband whose inactions made him an enabler to the crimes. My opinion. He is a little narcissistic weasel of a man. I know he is suffering his own loss here and people have empathy there, but I cannot. Stereotypical toxic masculinity is a roided out, aggro, sexually aggressive,
where's he getting the
scary, violent guy.
I can find out, dude.
It can also be a weaselly, smarmy, self-absorbed narcissist, which is what I see when I look at him.
Okay.
The signs of his wife's postpartum psychosis, of her unhealthiness, weren't just there. They were in flashing neon lights. After the youngest child's birth, Callan, in May of 2022, Lindsay showed signs of hypomania. She was getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to run 6 miles or so. Then she did a Peloton session, and then she did aerobics, all before the kids were awake. Then by late summer, she crashed into a severe depression, insomnia, 3 to 4 hours of sleep a night, anxiety. My fourth observation is Patrick Clancy was a deadbeat husband who's... Okay,
so we don't need to replay that, but this was just one of several takes that he had. And what I want to know is, what grounds do people have to keep calling this guy abusive? I don't care if like you think that he was aloof and he was checked out of his marriage. You don't really know that, by the way. But that is not a reason to accuse somebody of abuse and have it widespread amongst thousands and thousands of people. You have somebody here who's reliving the worst day of his life, and he is, hyperventilating on the stand, and people are making fun of him, saying it's fake, and they're calling him an abuser and saying all the worst things about him. It's just a huge dog pile. And then we're romanticizing Lindsay Clancy killing her kids. And the thing that I think a lot of people forget is that she could still very well be guilty. And I keep an open mind, right? I keep an open mind, especially because this is something that I, care to be cautious with. I don't want to accuse her of being, well, what they're accusing him of being, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But she could very well be guilty. So I mean, people need to tone it down on that. Like there's a lot of hero worship going on. There's AI, almost Jesus-like pictures of her they're making. They're AI generating her children around her, and Patrick's the evil villain. It's the most disgusting, ridiculous shit that I've ever seen.
Very thankfully, I have not seen
other people
those
are
things.
just like enabling this to run rampant.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the content creation game for, I don't know, a few years now. About as long as you, maybe a little bit longer, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I know what he's doing. He's doing the Candace Owens thing. He's like saying these sensationalistic things because he knows it's like a clickbaity coverage. Does he believe that? Does he actually believe that? There was these flashing red signs. So the fact that she's like getting up and running 6 hours or for 6 miles before she wakes up, before the children wake up, that's a sign of postpartum psychosis that's going to lead to what it led to. The fact, all of these flashing red signs, because as I heard the testimony came in, he's a better man than me because my wife was doing all of those things because my wife was doing a lot of those things. Mm-hmm. Like she was exhibiting a lot of those symptoms. As far as the depression angle and the anxiety angle, and there was never once where there was a box checked in my mind that, hey, maybe she's bipolar. Hey, maybe she's going to murder the children. That was never a passing thought. It was just like, well, it's hard raising children. This is kind of how it is, and we just got to get through it the best we can. Yeah. Which is, by all accounts, what his entire family thought. Which is, we've heard from her family, we've heard from his family. They've all as a family, have decided that, look, Lindsay was a great mom. We thought the world of her. We saw signs. We didn't know it was going to lead to this. Yeah. And in her family, like one of them was like a 38-year-old delivery nurse. Another one was like a social worker, mandated reporter. And the whole prosecution's point in grilling them in cross-examination is, you guys should know better. You guys didn't. You guys know the signs that exist. You guys are mandated reporters, and you guys saw nothing, and you reported nothing. So that's evidence that she had nothing, mm-hmm. which is stupid.
Yeah. And so I want to remind people also, I mean, it's kind of what you just spoke to a little bit, but like none of these people over the last 3 years, none of these people who actually know what's going on and know the full picture are saying anything bad about him. By all official accounts, any statement that's ever been made, Patrick was a good father, a dedicated father. But the thing is, they're trying to paint a picture to tell that Lindsay did not premeditate these murders on the defense side. So they have to paint a picture of Lindsay not killing the kids when he was absent. So you're going to hear about, over the 5 years, only the times he was absent. You are not going to hear anything about what he did for her or the children. That was a good thing. You're not going to hear how hard he tried to help her. You're not going to hear what you read in the New Yorker or other articles where he did interviews that he called a dozen therapists and he tried his best to get her help, which what she really needed was sustained therapy and management. And then she refused to keep going. So you can't make somebody stick with their help. You can do the best you can, but it really seems like they both were trying to figure out what was going on and they just couldn't. And these providers who have been hearing that she's having these thoughts, when you're having these thoughts like over and over again, you can't always treat them like an emergency. And they taught them to look for these signs. If you're having these thoughts, are the thoughts disturbing? Are you thinking about
something? I heard you say that the other day,
right.
And I thought that was really...
Yeah. Do you have a plan? So like if she says no to those things, and that's how it's been for a long time, and she has never done anything to hurt anybody while you've been having this problem over and over and over again, not a lot of people are going to look at their wife and think she's a monster who's going to kill my 3 kids if I leave for an hour.
That was a point that you made the other day, and I repeated it on the show because I thought it was really smart. It's like, look, we got 32 beds, man. We can't like treat everybody that has suicidal ideations as like an emergency. We got to pick the worst ones. And so we kind of have to evaluate, take into context. And look, all that's assuming that you have a good system, right? It doesn't appear like they had a good system. And then I went through the whole history of like back in the 1900s, when a woman would present with those symptoms, they would send her home with a prescription of cocaine and an orgasm. and say, hey, come back next Tuesday. And she would go home and she would like clean her house really well. And then in the 30s and 40s, they were committing everybody. There was like the rise of mental health institutions. And then they started doing lobotomies. And that was a thing for like 30, 40 years until they realized that, hey, maybe that's not the best approach. And so they started going the other way. We're not going to admit everybody. We're going to use a little bit of discernment here. And we get to the point where, look, we have somewhat of a better understanding, but we're kind of broken as a medical institution in America, at least the way that we treat postpartum depression. And so let's met her up and see what happens. And if this one doesn't work, let's try next one, to the point where she's prescribed 13 different medications. Like, well, you didn't see the entire bottle to fruition, because when I took it, I had all of these negative side effects. And me being a nurse, I was in my head about it. But the fact that she was on the phone with her providers, like every 20 minutes, it seemed like there was like this endless exchange between her and her provider. And they even recommended she get into this program. But it's like, we can't take her into this program because she's overly medicated. It's like, well, then what are we doing? It's just like this.
That was a big
cycle.
failing on that facility's part, in my opinion. I do not think they should have just sent her home. That I can't imagine doing that. Given the signs that she was having and the condition she was in, I can't imagine that we wouldn't send her in a secure transport to another facility that could meet her needs, to like a hospital, because that's what you're supposed to do. When you have a patient that you can't accommodate, you're supposed to send them to the hospital, get them medically cleared, and then they can either be admitted to the unit there and then come back. But you don't just send people away like that.
Think about what Sisal said yesterday. Were there reasons why she wouldn't be forthcoming about having auditory hallucinations? Yeah. She was fearful that they might take her children away, because she herself at one point, I believe, was a mandated reporter. She would be saying things that would cause mandated reporters to make reports that would necessarily cause her children to possibly be taken away. Will they have been taken away? I have no idea how that works in Massachusetts. But in California, they would have absolutely probably gotten a warrant to remove the children, found other family members to have the children stay with while they figure this out in dependency court. That's what would happen in California. Of course, this is Massachusetts. But there was reasons why she was not so forthcoming about it. And then we find out that there was this chaplain who hasn't come forward in testimony. Are they going to come forward? That would be fascinating. But Sisal testified today that, she said about the male voice, but it wasn't just to Patrick. It was to also, there was word that she disclosed this to a chaplain, a priest. And then he gives his opinion. Was this postpartum psychosis? Did she have the ability to distinguish between right and wrong on that day, January 23rd of 2023? He says no. Did she have the ability to conform her behavior to the letter of the law? He says no. The defense is all in. And today may very well be the day that decides this case in the minds of the jury, because that's been, and look, I've been struggling. I'm still not convinced of any of it, man. I'm still very open-minded, because I had a whole conversation with Bacon Bears, and she was telling me she had intrusive thoughts. She was telling me where there was moments where she would like rage out, where she like try to rip the door off the hinges, where she had to step outside and like scream at the top of her lungs. Like she was going through some shit, man. And she had intrusive thoughts of harming children. And like she just had to put the child down in the crib and just step. I'll get that off the screen. And
no, it's okay. I got one more thing I want to pull up on that, actually.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, but keep going. Yeah.
As I'm doing my monologue.
No,
but she had to step, put the children in the crib and just walk away. And so it's like, okay, fair play if you're having auditory hallucinations, fair play if they're telling you to harm the children and yourself. But at what point does this become something that you're unable to control is my question. Because the only rationalization in my mind exists in the movies, like The Exorcist, or The Omen, or Emily Rose, The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Literally, she was possessed by a demon. A demon had taken possession of her body and started controlling her body, that she had no autonomy to do anything different. Because if the voice simply said, here, do this thing, and she did it anyway, when she could have just said no, that bothers me. And it bothers a lot of people. And it's the thing that I've been hung up on until today. And we'll listen to that testimony together and we'll decide what we think about it. But that's the overarching question. Jaguars, come on, man.
I don't want to spend too much more time on this, but can you pull up the thing that I just put on there?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so this is the last thing we're gonna discuss here. This was the second reel that I saw, and it's not even the reel at this point that was so egregious to me. It was the comments, but I'll show you what he said, and then I'll show you why it's actually really ridiculous and harmful and hypocritical. Just
Clancy trial is all over my feed, and I appreciate the sleuths and the connection of the Apple Watch.
You shouldn't, by the way, because the connection with the Apple Watch and the shoes and all that stuff they were looking at, not a thing. They were wrong. So.
And the sneakers and the every little misstep, this weasel of a man. And if he didn't do it, he definitely did something. His dereliction of duty as a husband is over the top. His emotional abuse of her while his wife suffered terribly.
Emotional abuse.
If you call someone an abuser, having very limited information like that, I can't. That is one of the worst things I think you can do.
It's irresponsible and it's infuriating.
Disgusting. It's disgusting. I'll play the rest of it, but then I will get on with it and then we'll go into the other thing.
My only concern is that you're going to lose brain cells, but carry on.
They're already gone, man.
All right.
He is despicable, whether he physically did it or not. He is very much involved. And then as far as Massachusetts goes, here we go again. I mean, a non-investigation, an investigation that never starts. Michael Proctor, Karen Reed, here we are down the street in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and it's cut and dry. This little guy, nothing's cut and dry with that guy. I mean,
so Karen Reed didn't confess to the crime because she didn't do it. This man's wife did.
Little marathon badges and is, going for a run. You're fine. While she suffers like crazy. Set her free. Set her free. She has suffered enough, and somebody go love her. Jesus.
He doesn't even care if she's guilty. He's just like, set her free, set her free. It's this man's emotionally abusive. You know what I find despicable is saying that while you are so wrong about everything. Look at this comment on the side here. I'll read it out loud in case you guys can't see it. Somebody here said in his comments, I'm sure no one blames Patrick Clancy more than he blames himself. What's the point of this? Everyone is bloodthirsty and wants to heap guilt on top of guilt to him. The man not only lost his children, he found them with the exercise bands around their necks. He found his wife mangled on the ground after she tried to kill herself 3 ways. I'm sure he's thought a million times why he didn't see the signs. Compassion is free. This situation is tragic and everyone is a victim here. And Billy responds, wow. I'd feel the same way if he wasn't married 4 months later and accepted a job in New York a couple months before Lindsay broke all the way. I cannot rest until everything from every angle has been looked at regarding this man. And what do you know, in the same comment, 2 wrong facts. He got married this year, 4 months ago. Not 4 months after, 4 months ago.
But
They
Lauren,
started in February 2024.
Lauren, you're forgetting one fact.
What?
His new wife looks exactly like Lindsay. Duh.
Men have a type. I don't give a shit about that. Like, this poor woman's being harassed too. It's awful. Like, men don't. Oh my god. Okay. Even I know that. But like, this thing with the New York, also he took 12 weeks paternity leave to help her out to be there, and then he just eventually started working remote the whole time. So he was working remote for a company that was based in New York, and he has seen these TikTok conspiracies about how Patrick's LinkedIn says in 2022 he accepted a job in New York and thought he discovered something brand new. No. He has no idea what he's talking about, and yet he's here saying, set her free. I cannot rest until everything from every angle has been looked at regarding this man. Let me tell you something. You are only, during this trial, going to hear from Lindsay's attorney about when she was at her worst, when she was decompensated. Throughout the 5 years she had her children and all the struggles that she had, most of the time she was functional. She might have felt awful, but she was functional. She had agency. She chose not to take meds that she knew took weeks to set in. She chose not to continue going to therapy. And I don't want to put all the blame on her because I know that's terrible and I know she needed help, but you can't put all the blame on him either. You know, somebody messaged me and said, well, the night that this happened, you know, it said that she had been taking the kid to the doctor and she was the one who was feeding the kid and all that. And so I asked this person, I said, because she was like, he was just doing his thing downstairs and whatever. And I was like, okay, so let me ask you this. Can you tell me what his work schedule was? Can you tell me if he ran any other errands that day or if she asked him to? Can you tell me what else she did that day other than what you've been told? If the answer is no, you should not be calling this man an abuser. You should not even be calling him neglectful. He did the wrong thing that night by leaving her. But this family, this entire family was misled by the medical system.
Yeah.
Thought that it was going to be okay. Nobody thinks that their loved one is going to murder their 3 children. So this is bizarre. And I'm tired of people saying he should be sued or he should be locked up. And it's like, this is fucked up. He suffered the worst possible punishment a man could suffer in his situation. No more dogpiling needs to happen. He is not abusive for that. That does not mean he's an abuser. People saying that Lindsay took the daughter to the doctor that day because Patrick was sexually abusing her are disgusting. I want nothing to do with you. You are scum of the earth. I don't care if you follow me and you don't like to hear that. Get the fuck out. That's disgusting. And
I don't know what you got wrong, but you
turn on your phone and you put it in front of your face and you sit there and you say that confidently and you don't have a second thought in your mind, a second of empathy or a second of restraint, ethical restraint to say maybe I shouldn't post this. You're a piece of shit.
That's the word, right? Like this entire case requires restraint. Like the fact that this started with Lindsay Clancy and the events and 3 children that lost their lives, and we have expanded it to Patrick Clancy and the Epstein files, and then not just Patrick Clancy, but the grandma and the mom, all of them need to burn. Put the pitchforks away, man. Why don't we just have an intelligent conversation about the evidence? Can we just do that?
Man, this guy
we can make whatever decisions afterwards. But
this guy didn't even, look at this one too. Like this one with Matt Murphy, he's talking about why wasn't Lindsay's DNA on the bands? The DNA was on the bands. And this video is still up. These videos are still up. Even though the comments are still up that he has misinformation, and the dude just doesn't care. And that's why I'm so frustrated. It's because I really liked watching his show. I really enjoyed hearing what he thought. And now this is awful. There's no putting this in a way that's friendly. This is disgusting.
As a lawyer, it really is disturbing to see the way that the public has reacted to this case. Because it's not about the case at all. It's just about like sensationalistic bullshit. But like I think you said it. This case really requires restraint. Just let's hear the evidence. Right now, the singular issue is whether or not she had postpartum psychosis on the moment that the incident occurred. I'm willing to hear whatever arguments about that. I've seen and I've heard and I've listened to all of the evidence, listened to all the testimony. Mm-hmm. At this point, this case hinges on whether or not Lindsay Clancy had the ability to control her actions on January 23rd at approximately between 4 and 6 p.m. that day when she took the lives of her 3 children and hurled herself out of the 2nd-story window of her home.
Yeah. So just before you play this stuff, the 2 comments here. One's from your chat. Tracy D says, I do think the family should have made more of an effort to have someone with her at all times after she told them she had thoughts of hurting the kids. I think they were in denial. I agree with that. I do think they were in denial because I think whose brain jumps to my wife is going to kill my 3 children. My daughter is going to kill my 3 grandbabies. Like, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. And also, I would say also that goes back to the medical system and even the people that released her, less than 2 months before without doing anything real. It's like those doctors, they're responsible for holding her and having someone watch them 24/7. They have, if you're on a psych unit, you have somebody checking on you every 15 minutes. It's annoying as hell because I've been there and I had some dude coming in my room every 15 minutes and I'm trying to sleep. I'm just like, hello again. Like, what do you want from me?
Pause.
What's up?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was weird.
Could I just say, as a husband that has very recently gone through raising young children with my wife, it's difficult to know what to do. There's no right answers. Seriously, you'll see symptoms of things, like you'll see your wife going through things, and you'll think that's the problem with husbands, not just husbands, with couples in general. But you think that you could just fix, right? The great fixer. I remember there was one time where I didn't go into the room to talk to my wife about something that she was going through because I instead decided to take one of the babies and just give her a break. but it was the wrong move because he got like chewed out for it. And not that it was my wife's fault. It's just like, I don't know what the right move is, man. I don't know what I'm doing here any
really
more than you
to.
do.
Yeah.
And like, should I just consider the fact that maybe she's got bipolar disorder?
Mm-hmm.
Should I have her institutionalized because what she's saying to me doesn't make any sense to me? Maybe I'm the one that needs to understand. I don't know, man. But the fact that they have all the answers because they could play Monday morning quarterback with what happened with Lindsay and Patrick and decide what kind of a man he was or husband he was. And you know what? Billy Bush is old enough to know that he knows nothing. And the fact that he's carrying on with this, I just feel like it's sensationalistic journalism.
Well, you know how I am with people where I want to give them 1,000 chances. And so even if it's someone I don't know, I want to give them all the grace in the world before I finally say, like, this is not someone I want to even watch or listen to anymore. But like this guy, like, I really do like the guy overall. But this was a huge misstep in my opinion. But the thing is, they're getting so many validations and likes and comments on that. They're never going to correct themselves. They're never going to apologize. And they're never going to care. And that sucks because I don't know. I just want people to care enough to stop being so awful and lying that a person is being abusive, because we have women in mass doing exactly what, and I will say this, I don't care what your politics are, but I will say that this is usually the case. Right-wing men accuse women of lying about this stuff all the time, and now they're right. They're correct. Women are lying about abuse all over the internet watching this case. And it's not good. It's not doing women any favors. So whether you're right-wing or left-wing, I think we can agree that's not a good thing.
Hey, I just want you to know that misdemeanor says that you have a true friend in Oscar.
Oh, shit. I know what you meant, though, dude. Thanks. So I will also, the one other last thing I wanted to say was somebody wrote in here something about Elsie. I know Elsie has a very different opinion than me on this. I love Elsie. I know Elsie in person. Yep. I don't let internet stuff come in between and break up my real life relationships. We're not fighting over this. Like, it's not worth it to fight over an internet thing with a real person that you care about. Yeah, I'm not. So just know that we don't have any problems. So.
Yeah, for all of my friends that disagree with me, it's okay if you're misinformed. I won't hold it against you.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make fun of you a little bit. How about that?
All right. You go on. I think I've let out my.
All right. Did you let out your rant? Did we get it out of our system?
It was a very therapeutic crash out.
All right. Let's let us talk about something that matters.
Yeah.
Not that didn't matter, but let's talk about the actual trial. Make sure that I get it correct on. I hope I'm not sharing. I was in your screen so that I could. Because I can't, apparently when I leave comments in StreamYard, your audience doesn't get to see. And so I had your stream up so that I can.
Do you see the little, in the bottom right corner where the chat is? Like at the bottom left of the chat, basically, where your head is there and there's a little button?
No.
You don't? Okay. Well, we won't do it right. I'll tell you to fix it later for next time.
Yeah, tell me later. Yeah, next time. Just if you can't hear me in Lauren's chat, don't worry about it. It's fine. I'll try my best to keep my thoughts on the video.
All right, we got you.
Here is we're going to begin with Seisel's testimony. He's picking up from yesterday. By the way, a very abrupt, it was a short day of trial today. We're going to start where he goes into the gelato visit. He's going to talk about expanding on the brain damage comments, the kill yourself comments, never going to get better comments. He's going to talk about this thing about thought broadcasting, where Lindsay thought that people could hear her thoughts, which spells out to me that, I don't know, if I thought that people would hear my thoughts, it's only because I thought that they were being like broadcast on the radio or something, or some kind of speaker. It speaks to an auditory hallucination. He talks about suicide hotlines. He's going to talk about, again, how she felt like a zombie. He's going to talk about Patrick bringing her to Rhode Island. He's going to talk about the McLean discharge, not being against medical advice, that she was advised it was okay. I'm just going to get to it. Let's just start with this testimony. There's a lot to digest.
Try to just redirect towards the interview that you had of Lindsay regarding her journey. On November 29th of 2022, do you recall which healthcare provider she visited?
I believe that Ms. Clancy sort of, Ms. Gelada for treatment.
That'd be nurse practitioner Gelada?
Yes.
Do you know what she complained on November 29th that her symptoms were?
She was having issues with unstable mood, depression, and psychotic symptoms of disassociation.
Did she also, on that date, November 29th of 22, complain that she had what is referred to as a flattened effect?
Yes, and that was also paired with derealization.
And what does that mean?
That an individual experiencing derealization doesn't feel things are real when they look around. They don't think that what they're seeing is in the reality that they're in.
Now, at this time, towards the end of November into early December of 22, she was living in Duxbury, is that correct?
That's correct.
And she's living with her husband and her three young children, correct?
Yes.
And was the husband working?
Yes.
Where was he working?
Pardon me?
Where was he working?
He was working for Microsoft, but in a home office that was in the basement of the house.
And she's obviously taking care of Callan the infant and Dawson and, Cora.
Yes.
And the kids were in school a couple of days a week in the preschool, the Little Sprouts or something like that, right?
Yes.
So did she improve at that point, sir, or did she end up going to South Shore Perinatal Clinic on December 2nd?
She did not improve. She was getting worse. She did go to the South Shore Perinatal Clinic.
And would that be on December 2nd?
December 2nd, yes.
And what was the reason, what were her complaints that brought her to South Shore Perinatal Clinic on December 2nd?
She felt that her brain was damaged. She felt that she should kill herself. And she's never going to get any better.
Did she also express fear that people could hear her thoughts and that anything adverse would happen in her life regarding being a mother and having children?
Yes, that's called thought broadcasting.
And what was her concern about the children?
Her concern was that when people could hear her thoughts, her children would be removed from her care.
Now, and keep your voice up, please.
Yes.
Did she indicate, and I quote, that she had bad and intrusive thoughts, and she didn't even feel that they were like mine, telling me I should kill myself, my brain is damaged, you're never going to get better?
Yes.
And did that type of intrusive thought or persecutory thought continue for a period of time?
Yes. So
Did it get so bad that she ended up doing something?
Yes, that's correct.
What did she do?
She called the suicide hotline.
And do you know when that was, sir?
That was December 4th, 2022.
Did she receive any help from the suicide hotline?
She did not.
Why is that?
They told her she did not meet the standard of care because she did not have a plan.
Did she call the suicide hotline again, if you're aware?
Yes, she did.
Do you know when that was? Was that in December?
Yes, I believe that was perhaps the following week around the 15th, but I'm not positive about that.
Did she receive help on the second call that she called the suicide hotline?
No, she did not.
Can you tell us at this point now, we're talking about in December, let's say towards December 15th or thereabouts, what were her symptoms at that time regarding any complaints or observations that she had about paranoia or things of that nature?
Yes, she was having paranoid symptoms of psychosis, and she was getting more depressed.
Did she make any comments about DCF or the police at that point?
Yes.
Now, to your knowledge, did she ever have any involvement in her entire life with the police?
Never.
And did she express that she was in fear or concerned about DCF and or the police in the middle of December 22?
Very much so.
What did she say?
She was worried that her children would be removed from her and that she would never see them again.
Now, at this point, what medication was she on? First paragraph, page 9.
She started to take, at that point, Seroquel, Remeron, and Clonopin.
Did she make any complaints at that point about the effect, if any, of medications?
Yes.
What did she say?
She said she felt like a zombie.
Did she present with any particular medical observation that you refer to?
I'm not sure I understand your question.
Well, paragraph 1 on page 9, you indicate she presented with anhedonia.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Anhedonia is a word that means without pleasure. When someone has anhedonia, they cannot enjoy life. They don't laugh. They have no pleasure.
Continuing on into December, what was her status of her condition of depression and symptoms of paranoia and intrusive thoughts, et cetera, that we've talked about?
It continued unabated.
On December 15th of 22, right before the holidays, did she go somewhere?
Yes, she did.
Where'd she go?
She went to the clinic in Rhode Island, Parents and Women's Clinic, partial day hospitalization program.
And she didn't get any help there either, right?
That's correct.
Did she go at some point around that same time frame to Mass General Hospital?
Yes, she did.
Well, you knew that she worked at Mass General Hospital for 9 years, right?
That's correct. In labor and delivery.
She wasn't there visiting friends, right?
That's correct.
Why was she there?
She was in the emergency room to seek help.
Did she get help on that day?
She did not.
So after going to the MGH ER at some point in December 30th, what did she do?
She went back to the emergency room at Mass General.
Now, for example, on December 15th, did Pat Clancy, her husband, get involved with her medical treatment?
Yes.
And do the medical records indicate that he did something with her?
Yes, he brought her to the partial hospitalization program in Rhode Island.
Did he also bring her to the Mass General Hospital ER?
Yes, he did.
Did he also bring her to see the doctor or the nurse practitioner, Gillette, and complain about the medication?
Yes.
So December 30th or 31st of 2022, she was admitted voluntarily to McLean, right?
That's correct, yes.
How long was she there for?
She was there to the 5th. She was discharged January 5th, 2023.
Was that a voluntary discharge? They cleared her as well to be discharged?
Yes.
That was not what is referred to as AMA, or against medical advice, right?
Yes.
Yes, what?
Yes, it's not AMA. It's not against medical advice. She was following hospital guidelines. She was discharged accordingly.
And she wanted to go to her daughter's some function?
She wanted to go to her daughter Cora's birthday party, which was held on the 7th of January.
Now, at this point, what was her status? Was she weaned off of medication, or on her way to being weaned off of medication?
Sorry to pause, but what he's about to go into next, within the next couple of minutes now, is he's going to start in on the voices that Lindsay was hearing. This testimony is crucial. I know it's difficult in the moment, and I'm really curious about how the jurors are like taking notes and whatnot, but it's absolutely crucial. Honestly, his entire testimony, but this part in particular, this next 5 minutes of testimony really speaks to the defense's theory and is really important. We're going to get to this and then some of the cross as well.
Medication when she got out of McLean?
I believe so, yes. She was being tapered down on her medication.
And what was the medication that she was tapered down on?
I believe it was Seroquel and Klonopin.
Did her intrusive thoughts and the paranoia, did that abate? Did that stop?
It did not.
Now, when she was home in the month of January after Cora's birthday, which I think was on January 7th, did she continue to have these intensive intrusive thoughts?
Yes.
Can you tell us, when we say intrusive thoughts, is she referring to intrusive thoughts like you might think of something coming up next week that's bothersome, or is this a indication, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree, of medical certainty as to what she was experiencing at that point in January of 2023?
She wasn't just having everyday thoughts that we all have, reminding ourselves to do something, which we make note of, and then we move on. Intrusive thoughts are unrelenting. They don't stop. They're what we call ego systolic. You don't want them interfering with your ability to get through the day.
Did she have, at this point, intrusive thoughts continuing regarding voices in her head that she heard constantly?
Yes.
What were these voices saying to her?
They were getting worse, and they were telling her to kill herself.
And as January continued, she was, to your knowledge, using her computer to look up drugs and interactions and side effects and things of that nature?
Yes.
So the importance of that testimony, number one, is the Commonwealth is rested. All of their experts are in and saying, "Oh, she didn't have postpartum psychosis." Neither one of them spoke about auditory hallucinations. They did speak about intrusive thoughts.
Right.
And so my theory is that the jury is now hearing this expert basically define what those intrusive thoughts were. And if they make the connection between intrusive thoughts and auditory hallucinations that were occurring as early as December of 2022, that's the defense's case. Okay. And we're going to hear, not on the direct exam, but on cross exam, he's going to bring up the chaplain that I've, I don't know, advertised on my thumbnail or whatever, because it was the first time that we heard of another person other than Patrick being told of these auditory hallucinations. And it was explosive, to say the least.
I think the family, especially from what I've heard from them, this distinction between like hearing voices, hallucinating, and intrusive thoughts, it can be a hard distinction for some people. If you're not like a doctor, you're not a therapist, and you don't really know what those things mean, and you're trying to figure out what your loved one is experiencing, and what she says is kind of on the gray line. It's like, it's really hard for some people to tell that stuff. And I recall that the night that this happened, she said to Patrick and her mother, she was having thoughts of harming the children. And I think a lot of people latched on to that, and they were like, why didn't anybody do anything? And I'm sitting here thinking, hold on. Because we also know from prior testimony that they asked the questions the doctor told them to ask. They were told by the medical professional who's supposed to know to ask, are you disturbed? Do you have a plan? Are you thinking about acting on this? Or are you just worried? And she clarified to them that she was having thoughts that something bad would happen to the children, but she wasn't necessarily thinking about hurting them herself.
Hey, quick question. How do you gift memberships to your people?
Yeah, if you see on your channel, oh, hey, Donna, what's up? If you see on your channel the little button down there where you send a super chat.
Is it on StreamYard or on YouTube?
YouTube, on your YouTube page. Go to
I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, bottom right, go to gift memberships and you can give free memberships.
Got it. I forgot what I was going to say, but what were you saying again? You were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So the family, people are putting so much burden on the family that they didn't do anything, or like Patrick just left her for an hour and the mother who was there didn't do anything. And the thing is, these people are not professionals. And when things are really complex and when things are chaotic all the time, and when the norm for these people was for her to have reoccurring thoughts. And these doctors, when they sent them away from the hospital, when they denied her admission, that she was seeking, they tell the family, if somebody's at their baseline, if they're having these thoughts all the time, you don't want to necessarily lock them up because they have to learn to deal with that on a regular basis, outpatient. So that's why they told her, go to therapy, take your meds, do that consistently. And when you have these kinds of thoughts, you're supposed to look for certain signs that would cause you to be admitted. So, for example, if you go to your therapist and you say, I'm having suicidal thoughts, and they write up a professional certificate and lock you away for 72 hours, I don't think people realize like how traumatic it is. I've never been through like an involuntary thing myself. I have been a patient.
That's a relief.
I've been a patient once, but it was, I went myself. So, but an involuntary admission is like, you are placed in handcuffs a lot of the time. If you're at home and you call somebody and they come and put you under certificate, the police are often the ones to do it. They cuff you, put you in the back of the car. They bring you to the hospital. You are stripped of your clothes. You have to put on special scrubs. You have to give over all your devices. You are not allowed to have, and this is like, if you go to like a private facility somewhere, a cushy facility, they're not going to have the same protocols, but here by law, there are certain standards we have to meet if we're like a facility that receives, assistance from the government and stuff like that. You are put in this situation where you're out in the wide open in front of all these people, suffering and struggling and crying and thinking about the worst things you've ever thought. And all these people are staring at you, and you have to wait until you can finally get a bed somewhere because we have nowhere to put people. And it's just awful. So, and you did touch on this earlier, but you don't want to do that to somebody unless you have to.
Yeah.
The problem that we have now is that there's so little room that doctors have to send people away even if they ask to be admitted. So when they went there and they were turned away, they were given explanations by these doctors saying, well, she's not an immediate threat to herself. And this family, over the years that they're struggling with her, was probably educated on what to look for and, like I said, what to ask. Patrick testified to asking the questions the doctor told him to ask. And so in that way, I feel they were failed. And I don't know if they really could have done anything different other than he could have not left the house that night. So
realistically, look, if my wife tells me to go to 3V to pick up some food and go to CVS to get some medicine for the girls, I'm going, man. That's just husband duties. I'd go without giving it a second thought, especially if I'm living with my wife and we have a routine. There's no part of you that thinks worst case scenario, the ultimate worst case scenario. That thought probably never enters your mind. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I'm really glad that everybody out there thinks that they would know exactly what to do in Patrick's situation on January 22nd of 2023. Good for them. But I am a lesser man than they.
When she's describing these thoughts, I'm having thoughts of harming the children, or I don't know exactly how she worded it because they didn't really say. She said she's having thoughts of harming the children. What exactly did she say, though? Because they never followed up on that or asked for more detail.
Yeah, because it's one thing, if my wife told me she was having thoughts of harming the children, it's well, what do you mean? I'd probably have a discussion. I'd want to know specifically what she meant, right? I doubt that she says, "Oh yeah, I'm definitely going to like form these ligatures and like tell me the entire plan, play by play." I doubt she would say that. I doubt she would say anything. If she was actually having those thoughts, I'd imagine she wouldn't say anything. If she was having those thoughts, I think she would probably say it in like Bacon Bears. Like she told her husband that she was having these intrusive thoughts. But if it's like truly like thoughts of harming the children, I'm not sure how forthcoming she would be in disclosing how far down the evil trough her thoughts have descended. You know what I mean? And so I don't think that I would have all the information, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, that's the trouble too, is like we know in hindsight that there's a history of Lindsay not telling her providers the truth if we're to take her account as truthful now. So she says that she was having thoughts periodically, that she had heard, voices before. And it's like, well, she didn't report that. So even more so now, it's like people judging the family. I'm like, she wasn't even honest with the professionals.
I'll tell you what. I don't know. I was a big fan of House, the TV show. Dr. House. It was before your time. You were a child when this came out.
I've seen House, but I don't remember it much.
2004 to about 2012, it was like big time TV, right? And I love that show because I just love the character. I mean, it's a little over the top now if you watch it now, but I mean, the whole theme of that show was everybody lies. Nobody is honest with their doctors. Whenever I go to my doctor, I try to be overly honest with him. Like, I don't know what you guys need to know, but look,
that makes sense.
Things.
I imagine that's exactly how that goes.
I don't know if this is important or not, but you should just know, right? I'm like that because of Dr. House. Like, everybody lies. You can never trust the patient to give you all of their symptoms. You're just going to have to deduce it based on data that you gain from observing, right? Yeah. And so, but the problem with that is, and I know we're going on a rant, but it's like Lindsay Clancy had 5 different people evaluate her, and neither one of them were looking at each other's notes. And one of them was like, "Oh yeah, I didn't want to look at anyone's notes because I wanted to give it a fresh set of eyes." And I'm like, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What in the hell are you doing? You're the genius that's going to figure it out like blindfolded." And you're a nurse practitioner, mind you. Give me a break.
Jillian Shaban in the chat says, at least, hopefully I pronounced that right. At least she told people. Good for that. I actually feel sad for her too, because I don't think she got proper care. It definitely made things worse. There's so many layers to this that I think a lot of people don't think about. And one of those things is when you're depressed, you can feel like the most mundane thing in the world is like climbing a mountain. So like I used to, a long time ago, I would call it unopened mail depression, because when I was depressed, you don't want to do small things that you're supposed to do for yourself and take care of yourself. And I was just like, I don't want to check my mailbox. It felt like the worst thing in the world to go check my mailbox. And it was irrational. It's funny now, right? But like, it was irrational. It was stupid. So I would go check my mailbox. And finally I would do it. And then it would take me another week to open the mail. So unopened mail depression. Right. So like, it's the stupidest things in the world from the outside, but from inside your brain, it's just like, you don't want to take care of yourself. So you'll pick the most mundane tasks and convince yourself that you can't do it.
It's a real thing that people talk themselves out of like the best care. But I'm going to continue with this testimony before we get too far off track.
Okay. I'm going to go open my mail actually. So
go open your
I got to get some more water.
Is that code for shaving?
No, but I don't know if you guys saw, if you guys knew Legal Vices, he was a YouTuber. I know, Omar, you knew Legal Vices. I got this copy that has him on it. I think you can still buy him from his shop. So I'm trying to use this as much as I can now. Yeah.
Might pick me up one
little cartoon guy. Yeah. All right, go ahead.
All right, here's Dr. Seisel.
If a person is in a psychosis, or as I think you said, premorbidly psychosis, are they able to do things like look up things on a computer?
Yes.
And you're aware that she actually at one point looked up, can you cure, I think a sociopath or a psychopath or something like that?
It was a sociopath, yes.
Is that indicative of her feeling that she is a homicidal maniac and has to have some help, or is that in the same time frame that she was Googling all of the effects of medications on a human being?
To the objection? Yes. Yep, sustained.
So during the period that she was Googling Well, let me ask you, what was she Googling?
Just Googling words about sociopath, sociopathy. Can you treat a sociopath? What are hallucinations?
What else?
Bear with me one moment. Never mind.
Well, you had a chance. Did you look at the Google searches that she had
Yes.
done that's in evidence and the jurors were able to look at it?
Yes.
Did she continue to Google the effects of medication, psychosis, numbness, heaviness, unable to, things like that?
Yes. All things that are related to the
And if a person is in a psychotic state, are they able to continue to Google and use a computer to look things up?
Yes.
They're able to use a phone?
Yes, people who are in that state can do things that they've done before. New tasks may be difficult, like changing a tire, but if you looked up things on the internet, you can look them up again. If you drove a car, you can drive a car.
Now, the morning of January 24th, I believe, she went somewhere. Is that right?
Yes.
Where'd she go?
She's taking her daughter to a pediatrician, a standing pediatrician appointment.
And is it your understanding, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, that a person who's in a psychotic state is able to drive a car for a short distance, go to an appointment, and interact and talk to people?
Yes, they can do everyday tasks of living.
So the fact that she's not talking about the unicorns in the corner, and she's not slurring her speech, and she's not unable to walk, to your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty, is that
I was on mute. My wife had to tell me that I was on mute. I was just saying that I'm going to fast forward to 116, where Dr. Seisel basically is about to give the dispositive testimony of this entire case. If you believe what he says right here, then Lindsay Clancy is not guilty. If you don't believe what Dr. Seisel says right here, then she's guilty. That's it. That's really it. It boils down to this testimony. I know I'm simplifying, but as the juries deliberate, they either believe Dr. Seisel or they don't. And so this next bit of testimony, and I'm going to slow it down. I have it on 1.5 speed, but you guys should pay attention to every word, because this is the crucial testimony that I believe is going to decide this case. Here it is.
felt tired, heavy, without energy?
Absolutely, yes.
Did she indicate that she was having a harder time taking care of her children?
Yes.
Did she indicate that she was having issues regarding personal hygiene, not bathing, things of that nature?
Yes.
Did she indicate that she had severe confusion in actually hearing or seeing things that aren't there? In her case, it would not be seeing, that would be visual hallucinations. But did she complain of hearing things that weren't there, hallucinations?
Yes.
Did she complain of thoughts and beliefs that were not within reality and that she was in a disassociated state out of reality?
Yes.
Did she indicate that, did you observe that there were circumstances where she exhibited increased energy, activity, productivity, otherwise known as hypomania?
Yes.
Did she complain that she had racing thoughts, a quote, busy brain, end quote, increased creativity?
Yes.
And when she said in your review of the medical records that she was having a busy brain, did she express the fact that she would get confused and that she thought her brain was damaged?
Yes, that's correct.
Was she restless and agitated, unable to keep still,
Yes.
unable to sleep?
Yes. Extremely unable to sleep.
So can you tell this jury, sir, in your opinion, to a reasonable degree of medical certainty based upon all of what you have reviewed, all of what we have talked about, all of what you have considered, as to whether or not at the time of this incident resulting in the killing of these 3 little kids, that she was suffering from a mental disease or defect, such as that she lost substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her act, or in the disjunctive, was unable to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law?
Yes.
Tell the jury what your opinion is, please.
My opinion is that she did have indeed a mental disease or a defect. That's a legal construct, not a DSM-5 one, but she had bipolar disorder with postpartum psychoses. In addition, she was unable to conform her behaviors to the rule of law, and she had no appreciation for the wrongfulness of her act.
Thank you, sir.
That's the first expert, the first medical expert that has articulated that.
Sorry, what is it? Miss it.
Did you just miss the crucial? I just like built it up like this is going to be the dispositive testimony of the case.
You can
were shaving.
What was that last sentence? Give me that. Just give me
Okay,
that.
let's replay it because it's the most important testimony that has come into the case so far. This is what he says.
Right.
And what I just said when you were gone was, if you believe Dr. Seisel here, then Lindsay Clancy is not guilty. If you don't believe him, then she's guilty. That's it. So here it is. One more time.
These three little kids, that she was suffering from a mental disease or a defect, such as that she lost substantial capacity to appreciate the wrongfulness of her act, or in the disjunctive, was unable to conform her conduct to the requirements of the law.
Yes.
Tell the jury what your opinion is, please.
My opinion is that she did have indeed a mental disease or a defect. That's a legal construct, not a DSM-5 one, but she had bipolar disorder with postpartum psychoses. In addition, she was unable to conform her behaviors to the rule of law, and she had no appreciation for the wrongfulness of her act.
Thank you, sir.
So that is both prongs of the McHugh standard, which is she had no ability to control her actions, and she had no ability to appreciate right from wrong.
So somebody in the chat, I don't know what you said. Well, as God says, you are getting the burden of proof wrong. Can you explain what your stance on that is? The burden of proof on this?
Oh, well, the burden of proof is on the Commonwealth, right?
Yeah.
They're probably referring to the last stream that I did where I said there's a presumption of sanity. And really what it comes from is like all of the cases allude to jury instructions where you're allowed to make inferences based on most people are sane. So there's like this constructive presumption of sanity that means that the defense necessarily would have to prove that something was amiss, right?
Oh, but in Massachusetts, it's the other way around.
Right. But well, in Massachusetts in 1976, there used to be a presumption, but they have downgraded the presumption to an inference. The jury's allowed to make an inference that most people are sane, and if they don't show you evidence to the contrary that she's not sane at the time of the event, then you could assume certain things, right?
In this case, though, the prosecution has the burden of proving that she was within her right mind.
Let me be clear: the Commonwealth, the prosecution, the district attorney, they have all of the burden of the proof to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that she had criminal culpability.
Okay. Yeah.
The McHugh standard that I'm referring to is specific to Massachusetts, for one. It stands for the position that you're not criminally culpable if you have a mental defect that leads to your inability to appreciate right from wrong or to conform your behavior to the law, right?
I get that part, yeah.
Okay. But that is the Commonwealth's burden to prove. However, the judge may infer that most people are sane. So in a case like this, realistically, even though it's not the law, the defense, if you're going to plead that defense, you got to show the jury something to show that this lady was not normal, was not sane at the time. And so it's not officially the burden.
So by principle, that's not the case, but technically, but based on how people actually do this, it is. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Like, it's not the law, but it's the way that they litigated in Massachusetts.
Okay, got it.
But the burden has never shifted. The defense doesn't have to prove anything, but they're pleading defense. Therefore, they got to show them putting on Dr. Seisel is their attempt to break up the inference. So now they have to contend with the inference.
Have you seen the cross yet?
We're about to get to the cross. I'm glad you asked.
Okay, I was going to say there's some stuff in there that
there's some bangers.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm not a fan of how the prosecution has been doing their job so far, but today they kind of
This was their best day. This was
Listen,
their best
I'm not
cross by
saying they're
far.
redeemed, but they did it better than
No.
yesterday. Let's put it
It's
that
not
way.
redeemed.
No.
So where to start their cross? I could probably start it with 131, leading into 140. We'll talk about Sheila Kavanaugh. That is the chaplain, who is the unofficial second hearer of Lindsay Clancy's auditory hallucinations. Right? But I'm going to start it. You know what? I'll just start at the beginning. Why not?
Yeah, cool.
At 118. And then I'll probably fast forward.
Okay.
They're actually, you know what? I'm actually already there. How about that?
You're welcome.
All right, come on.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So, yesterday, when you first took the stand, Attorney Reddington asked you a little bit about your background. Recall that?
Yes.
And you, in this field of being a psychologist and a forensic psychologist, you circulate a curriculum vitae where all that is outlined, right?
Yes.
And fair to say, you testified yesterday, and on your curriculum vitae, you speak briefly about the fact that you have previously testified for the Commonwealth, you said, as well as for the defense, correct?
Yes.
You referred to defendants and respondents, right?
Yes.
And so one of the things that you've done in the past is to be what's called a qualified examiner, right?
Yes.
You are currently not actively doing those examinations, are you?
I actually have done one, but I don't actively do that anymore.
Okay. And so in those respects, is that when you say you testify for the Commonwealth, is that primarily the work that you would do where you say you testify for the Commonwealth?
Yes.
And in those evaluations that you do, is it fair to say that you're actually an independent contractor with a company that contracts with the Department of Correction on those cases?
Those are what qualified examiners are. That's correct. That's how you become a qualified examiner through the DOC.
Right. And you're an examiner, a qualified examiner, is retained or takes work in doing evaluations in order to perform independent assessments, are they not?
Yes.
So they're not hired by the Commonwealth.
They are, because the company that retains the qualified examiners is hired by the Commonwealth, and these forensic psychologists are then appointed cases to do these types of examinations.
Just a stylistic note on the Commonwealth and their cross-examination. Their cross-examinations have been atrocious, not just because they ask distasteful questions, but because, like, literally yesterday, she was reading text messages between grandmother and Lindsay Clancy without seemingly any kind of a plan on what she needed to get out of certain witnesses. Like, for example, Patrick's mother, the victim's grandmother. She sits there and she's reading off text messages, doesn't appear to have a plan. She's getting angrier and angrier because they keep on talking about what a great person and great mother Lindsay Clancy is. And you can see it. It didn't appear like she had a plan with this expert either. And it's funny because I don't watch many lawyers covering this case because I like to keep my thoughts my own. But there's two that I have watched, and their impressions of this Commonwealth, this lady with the bow. Somebody had sent me like a picture of a bow, and I'm like, what are they talking about? Oh, she wears like bows in her hair. They're like making fun of her because of that. I didn't even notice.
Yeah,
but
they hate this lady. I feel so bad for this lady, honestly, because listen, I don't think she's doing a good job. I think that they could be making a way better, taking a way better approach to this. But like this lady, like she is just trying to do her job, badly as she may be. She is just trying to do her job.
Bow, man.
So I know a lot of people say, like, why are we doing this? This is putting the family through pain. And I agree, it's putting the family through pain. However, 3 children died. Yeah. You can't just write that off. Even if somebody's sick, you can't just write that off.
She has to understand, though, what she's trying to get from every single witness. And that's She has demonstrated a fundamental inability to do that. She didn't know what she's supposed to get out of mom. She didn't know what she was supposed to get out of grandma.
I think she was supposed to get mom's religious testimony.
That's nonsense. Because number one,
I know.
it's stupid. Like, you're not going to get anything out of that.
Did you know that not answering questions about your religious background is a mortal sin?
Maybe not. All I know is there were times when
Did you not understand what I was just, that's what she asked the grandmother yesterday.
Yeah, did you understand that murder is a mortal sin? Yeah. One of the guys that I had that I didn't even think about, but Thomas DeWitt, one of my favorite legal commentators. I love that guy. He pointed out that, first of all, I forget what his channel is called. It's something like A Lawyer Explains or something like that. He's like an older guy. He's a retired lawyer.
Okay.
Yeah, but he said something to the fact that that's a really bad a big no-no, because separation of church and state. She's not like a clergyman. She's not a priest. And what does that have to do with anything? And then how the judge like so quickly snapped at her for doing that. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. But it was an appealable issue for one, because of constitutional separation of church and state. But for two, what points was she scoring? My opinion of it last night was maybe she did that to demonstrate to the jury that Lindsay Clancy understood the difference between right and wrong, because she was Catholic, which is a silly proposition, because you don't have to prove that you're Catholic.
That is so dumb. That's so dumb. You know how many Catholics I know who have done the most horrible things?
Oh, I know that. But it was the only reason I could think that she would have possibly conjured up that question in her mind, unless she was just trying to bully the grandma, which I don't think that's what she was doing. I really think she was trying to hit the McHugh standard in his face, and she just floundered miserably. But her questions with Seisel open up the door for him to introduce the clergyman, and that's like 22 minutes ahead. Obviously, I'm going to skip ahead, but we'll finish with this. When she hits these points, I'm going to skip ahead to that, and then you'll see how she basically opens the door to introduce this further testimony of, oh no, it wasn't just Patrick she disclosed the auditory hallucinations to. Actually, there was another person, a clergyman, and you'll see what happens.
Hey, we do have a prosecutor fan in here.
So big umbrella.
Is it Lindsay?
It is no, it is Dana. I don't know if it's Dana or Donna Maria in the chat here. It says she likes the prosecutors. So we have at least one prosecutor fan here, guys. So
she likes the prosecutor. Oh, no kidding.
It's good to have a diverse audience. That's good.
Last night I had in my chat, there was another former prosecutor. Her name was Lindsay. I don't remember what her official handle was, but she was going all in on she hates this prosecutor. And so interesting. That's the first prosecutor that I've heard is a fan of her style.
All right.
But, cool. Differing opinions and all.
Umbrella Commonwealth, meaning Department of Correction, an agency that is under the seal of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. But as far as when we talk about Commonwealth, like Commonwealth versus Lindsay Clancy, that's the prosecution. In those proceedings, the Department of Correction sometimes is the moving party, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's the district attorney's office who's the moving party.
Yes.
But it's never the defendant who's the moving party.
Never.
And in those types of proceedings, sometimes if you opine a person is what they call sexually dangerous, you would testify for the Commonwealth, right?
Yes.
And if they're not, or if you find that they're not sexually dangerous, you testify for the respondent.
Yes, we're neutral.
So you're not testifying for the Commonwealth. As in the prosecution, you're testifying under the big umbrella of the Commonwealth.
I think it's a matter of semantics, because if you do an evaluation and you render an opinion that this patient is sexually dangerous, when you testify, you are working with the district attorney's office and you review your case with the DA. And the way I see it is that you're testifying for the Commonwealth as an independent examiner, but on that day, you're testifying for the Commonwealth or that DA's office.
And you haven't done that work in closely a decade, fair to say?
No, that's not true.
Well, pre-pandemic, correct?
That's not true.
So when was the last time you testified for the Commonwealth, meaning the prosecution?
All right, she's gonna continue to attack his credentials. I'm gonna get to the meat of this. It starts at around 1:35, and then it gets real interesting. Let's start there.
Mm-hmm. On that day, on February 4th, that she left a voicemail, right?
Yes.
So in that voicemail message, were you able to identify that it was Patrick Clancy's phone? Did it say, hey, this is Pat, leave a message or something to that effect?
I don't remember the salutation from the voice recording, but there was no evidence that it was not Patrick Clancy.
And as far as her confidence in the number, she gave it to you with no issue, did she not?
That's correct.
She didn't have her own cell phone to refer to, did she?
That's correct.
Or a pad of paper where all the numbers were written down?
She didn't.
You indicated that she left a message. Do you recall what the message was?
She expressed her love for him. wanted to know how he was doing, and that was pretty much it.
And again, you said that you didn't write down what the mental status exam was, but the fact that she was able to relay that message, was it clear and coherent what she was saying?
Yes, mental status exams are multiple levels, different things are asked. If you don't know where you are, it doesn't mean you can't have a conversation with someone.
And she was able to have a conversation with you that day.
Yes.
Now, you said you went back on February 6th and met with her again, correct?
Yes.
And you guys made another attempt at calling Patrick.
Yes.
Again, did you remember the number?
No.
Did you have it stored in your phone?
No.
Did she provide you his phone number to call?
Well, it was in my phone. I could just look it up on my phone. I didn't write it down. I didn't enter his name. Either she gave it to me again, or I just looked it up from 2 days prior.
But you don't recall, as you say here today, which it was, do you?
No.
And you didn't write a report about that interaction, did you?
I did not.
So in the second phone call, you were able to actually hear that she was talking with Patrick on the other end, right?
Yes.
And at that time, when you were now second time meeting with her and having this phone call, were you aware that she had already changed her healthcare proxy from Patrick to her parents?
I did not know that.
Did you talk to Patrick in between the 4th and the 6th to find out if he had tried to come in to visit her?
I didn't speak to him at all, so I knew nothing about what his plans or intentions were.
Your testimony yesterday was that she had called him to tell him that she loved him and to see where they were at, right?
Yes.
That was your testimony? Meaning what, their relationship?
That I made no interpretation of what that meant. She left the message and we left it at that.
But in that subsequent conversation that you were a witness to where they were speaking on the phone and she told them about these voices or explained about the voices, did she ask about the kids?
She did not, as I recall.
Yeah.
Now,
That's one of the things that my wife had questions like, did she ask about the children? Now, my wife asked that about when she woke up and she came to, if it was psychosis, then did she know what the fate of her children were? Was she asking about the children? Was she asking about Patrick? That was one of the questions. So this Dr. Seisel just said no. So I've unsped it up from 1.5 down to 1 because this is really important testimony. And I wanted to give it its full weight.
in all of the times over the course of the last few years that you've met with Miss Clancy, how many times has she told you since the incident that she's heard a voice currently?
She has not heard voices since the event took place in 2023.
And you've now testified that over the course of a period of time that she did hear voices, right?
Yes.
And is that based on one of these 35 hours worth of conversations you had with her? How do you know that?
Well, they were collateral contacts. Spoke to other people. I spoke to other people who I asked the nature of their interactions with Ms. Clancy, and it was not a fishing expedition. I asked them if they can tell me what happened.
Well, I'm asking
but they
you.
disclosed, pardon me.
You have to let them finish.
So they disclosed information to me that Ms. Clancy shared that information with them.
So who did she tell that she had a voice that told her to kill herself?
She spoke to a chaplain named Sheila Kavanaugh, who I spoke with, and Chaplain Kavanaugh told me that Ms. Clancy told her that she heard a male voice instructing her to first kill her children and then to kill herself.
So the same message that she delivered to Patrick that day on the phone, you heard from a chaplain at Brigham and Women's Hospital after the incident occurred in January of 2023?
Yes.
And so from all of the records that you reviewed of her treatment and all of the interviews with her family, who did she tell that she heard voices telling her to kill herself?
I believe she told family members.
Which family members?
I believe she may have said that to her mother. She, I believe, told her husband that she felt like killing herself as well.
In the records with the providers, you're aware, you've reviewed them all and you've sat through all of their testimony. You're aware that when she described intrusive thoughts, she never referred them referred to them as a voice telling her to kill herself, did they? Did she?
No, she was referring to.
It's just a yes or no.
No.
So as far as her reports of these intrusive thoughts that appear over and over in the notes, you would agree that it was simply, when asked about what they were, it was simply that she felt like she wanted to die, right?
Yes, and
it's just a yes or no.
Yes.
This is dangerous testimony for this prosecutor. Number one, I've been here a million times where you ask a question on a cross-examination and you don't get the answer you're expecting. I don't believe that she was expecting Dr. Seisel to disclose, oh, there was this chaplain that also she told about the auditory hallucination, about the male voice instructing her to kill her children and herself. That just opened the door to an entire wing of testimony. Number one, when did that happen? At what time did it happen? Was it before or after the incident? It's hearsay. Is this Kavanaugh lady going to come in as a new witness? I don't think that she was disclosed on their list of witnesses before trial, but that is explosive testimony. Mm-hmm. And now she's because she didn't know the answer to that question, she's trying to save face, and she's trying to do it in a way that it would appear to the jury that she knew the answer to that question and she knew it was coming. And the next point is this. And she's trying to make this wayward connection between intrusive thoughts and auditory hallucinations. That's bad, because if a jury starts equating auditory hallucinations with intrusive thoughts, then those thoughts are in evidence as having occurred, I believe, as early as November of 2022.
Okay, yeah.
If I'm not mistaken. So this prosecutor is unequivocally in the weeds right now, and she's trying to fix it.
Okay.
Now, in your report, you go through what's called the sources of information. You're familiar with that part? It's pretty standard in a forensic report, right?
Yes.
Where you list all of the things that you've gone through and reviewed in compiling the information for your report.
So in my sources of information, I reviewed the following, but that list is not limited to the following. So there might be other pieces of information that I may have reviewed, but didn't put in the list.
Okay, so not on the list are the Tewksbury Hospital records that you said you reviewed recently, correct?
Yes, the 7,000 pages of those hospital notes. I didn't review all of them at the time of the report.
Did you review records from the Spalding Rehab Facility?
Yes.
That's not contained, though, in your list, in your report, is it?
I don't think it is.
And you don't cite to any of the Spalding Rehab records in your report coming to your ultimate conclusions, do you?
I do not.
Number one, I'm going to fast forward a little bit here because there's some more bombshell stuff, but I wanted to address this comment that the male voice sounds manufactured. What is that? Turd.
Oh, Teardad. Teardad, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I think I got it right. This person's been
that
around
makes
for
more
a
sense.
long time.
Teardad. I'm not going to try to read it. Teardad 1940.
They've been around for a long time. They follow Laura and stuff too. So
I know. I've definitely read that name. I don't think I've ever tried to pronounce it out loud. The point is, I agree with her that when I heard the story about the manufactured voice back in 2023, the male voice or the voices, whatever, I thought that it was manufactured. And even as they described it, oh, what do they say? I want you to kill yourself and the children. Oh, no shit. Like everybody else has ever said. But I got to say, in the context of this trial and the way that it's played out and Lindsay's documented desperation of trying to deal with her symptoms, I'm more compelled to consider that the male voice was not manufactured. Now, if there's a chaplain, now look, timing is really important because I don't think we've got to the bottom of the timing of the comments to the chaplain. Is that going to come in day 17? I don't know. But if there is a Kavanaugh chaplain that wants to come in and say that, oh yeah, she's a Catholic, she came in and confessed and said that she was having these thoughts and she heard this voice. Is she going to say something like that? And it occurred like in December or early January? I don't know. But if she says something like that and it predates the event in a way that, oh, she didn't just wake up and decide, well, I got to say something. I was possessed. It was a voice. I was a demon or whatever. I don't know. Now that's something that may compel me to consider that the male voice was not manufactured. So critical evidence. So I don't know where we're going with this. But if we can get Kavanaugh on the stand, I think we need to talk to her. What did she tell you when and when?
I see some people, every now and then in the comments talking about like how people perceive psychosis and can you function and stuff like that. Like you can tell this, you can tell that. So we have one way of describing it is like we have ego dystonic hallucinations or psychosis, thought disorder, where these things clash with your being. They clash with your morals, your values, your sense of self, and you can kind of tell that something's not right. So you can function and you can say, because I've had plenty of people come into the hospital that they can function, but they say, I'm hearing this, like I have this really persistent voice that's, it's either it's passive or it's a command, but like ego dystonic is like you can kind of tell that something's off, but ego syntonic, if you're having those kinds of hallucinations, it's a lot harder for you to tell. So you don't necessarily recognize it. It aligns with yourself and your kind of normal line of thinking sometimes, and to where it's like it doesn't clash with your morals. It's not telling you to do anything that you wouldn't normally do, and so it's kind of you can't really tell what's going on there. So it's really a mixed bag, and I think a lot of people think that you can't be functional and have these issues, but you can.
Well, Dr. Shaw, that was a Commonwealth witness. Dr. Shaw came in and said that, look, you could be in a state of psychosis and appear completely normal. You could communicate, you could plan, you could go about your day.
Yeah.
Just because you're in a state of psychosis doesn't mean it's going to be obvious to anybody observing you. So the fact that people are saying that, oh yeah, I had normal interactions with her, that's not dispositive of the fact that she didn't have psychosis. So why are we harping on that point? And what's frustrating to me, just intellectually and logically, is that the Commonwealth is trying to harp on this fact that her normal appearance was evidence against her having psychosis, when their own expert witnesses came in and said that, yeah, that's not how that works. And so, look, the Commonwealth presentation of the case has been frustrating for a lot of reasons, but that's one small example of it. I'm just stating that if your own experts are stating that you could appear normal and communicate normally and plan normally while in a state of psychosis, then why is that your theory of the case is my point.
Yeah. So
anyway.
I'll be honest, so I only deal with people when they come in through emergency, and I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, right? So I don't follow up with these people. I just see them when they're in crisis, when they come to the hospital. So I don't know like how long you can go to appear normal and have those issues. That's not something I have ever had the chance to follow. But like if you're in front of somebody for like a little while and then they leave, it's like they'll never know that you were like experiencing some kind of weird stuff that was going on. It would just seem to you like you're fixated on something. It would, if you have these like ego syntonic hallucinations, it might seem to you like you can't stop thinking about something, but really it's something a little more intense going on. So
we're going to hear some more testimony right now about the ongoing thoughts, the male voice appearing. This is on cross-exam, so she's continuing to grill. I'm fast-forwarding a little bit. Here we go.
She identified to you that it was her own voice that she heard, correct?
That's not correct.
So she told you that she heard a male's voice?
That's correct.
When?
On the night of the incident, January 24th, 2023.
No, I'm referring to the fact that you've now testified that she heard this, as you call it, a persistent what's the word you use? Persecutorial voice over the course of time? Was that your testimony?
So you're referring to the ongoing negative voices or intrusive thoughts that she was hearing,
right? Where
she felt, in fact, other people could hear those voices, thought broadcasting. So there are multiple layers here of hearing intrusive thoughts.
So, but I'm asking,
hearing voice it so loud that she believed other people could hear her. Those are two separate phenomena, if you will.
In those voices that you are saying she told you she heard about wanting to die or to kill herself or her brain was damaged prior to January 24th of 2023, did she say it was her own voice she could hear? It was her own thoughts?
She did not identify whose voice it was.
Fair to say the only time she specifically said she heard a male voice was when she recounts the events on January 24th of 2023.
Yes, that's accurate.
And you'd agree that there's a difference between the idea that somebody believes their thoughts would be or could be heard by others and the belief that they are being heard by others, right?
Yes, it's a matter of semantics, and it's a level of degreeism. Believing and knowing, two totally separate things.
And believing, having a fixed belief like that would be a delusion, right?
That's correct. A delusion is a fixed false belief that is unshakable and not something you get rid of either through your own efforts to tell the voice to go away or other people saying, just, for example, try to stop thinking about it.
And the idea that she believed that something was wrong with her brain, or that if people could know what was happening, that the police might get involved, that is something that could happen if somebody articulates those things, right?
Absolutely. It's common sense.
Now, in your report, you also indicate that, in your testimony, you indicated that on January 5th of 2023, that's when Ms. Clancy was discharged from McLean Hospital. And I think your testimony was that she went in there on Seroquel and I think you indicated Klonopin, correct?
Yes.
And your report says Seroquel and Klonopin. You recall that?
Yes.
You're aware that based on the medication journal that is in evidence that she hadn't taken Klonopin since November 27th of 2022.
She had a prescription for that, and I think she may have taken some, but may not have been on a regular basis.
But you've seen the pages of her journal to know that she's pretty diligent about saying exactly what she took on each particular date.
Yes.
Leading up to her stay at McLean and even after.
All right, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit because they're going to go more into this drug discussion that, frankly, we kind of know the score on that. But I think that, Lauren, you were alluding to some of this more explosive testimony regarding birthdays and what she was doing on the birthdays of her children.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that's what we were talking about, but I wanted to get to some of that because we need to hear it. We need to hear both sides.
Yeah.
And I think this is probably the Commonwealth's best moment on cross for the entire trial.
So what's your, I don't know if we're going to watch this part or not, or if you got to it maybe when I was, away.
Nope,
but
I'm getting to it.
I'm talking about the friendship between him and the defense attorney. We
got to that yesterday. Well, I mean, I don't give a shit about that, honestly. I
know you don't, but is that something that could confuse a juror?
No, I mean, they disclose it right up front. And the reality is that, honestly, there's experts that I work with on a regular basis. There's psychologists that I work with on a regular basis. And the reason for that is because I trust them to be objective and to be competent enough to handle the cases that I give them. And so it's not uncommon.
Prosecutors don't they also use like friendly faces a lot of the time? So, okay. Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, in the DA's office, when I was working there, when I was in law school, was an intern at the DA's office. Not only do they work together all the time, but they're like they're sharing the same workspace. They're in the office. You got the officers there, like hanging out in the DA's break room or whatnot. They go to lunch together. They have drinks together. They socialize. They're friends. They see each other all the time in court. It's not uncommon on the DA side, the prosecution side, the Commonwealth to do that, and it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility, or is definitely not uncommon for the defense to have people that they normally work with. The fact that they're friends, the fact that they have a 20-year history with each other, the fact that they have probably done hundreds of cases together, It doesn't bother me in the slightest because I'm a big boy and I'm able to decipher between fact and fiction and evaluate properly the evidence in front of me. And I would expect the jurors to do the same. So some might throw caution to the wind about that, but the worst, I mean, what's the better scenario? Okay, let's just find somebody that we've never worked with. We have no idea what their work product is like. We don't know if they're going to be competent. We don't know how they're going to testify. They might have a shoddy work ethic or whatever. I don't know, but you're just throwing caution to the wind. In a case like this, you want to go with somebody that you know, somebody that you can trust, somebody with a proven track record. And hey, if you know people like that and you find somebody like that, you're going to stick with them. And you're probably going to have a working relationship. You might even be friends. It's just how it is. And it's like that on both sides, quite frankly. So it doesn't bother me in the slightest.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Continuing on with this testimony.
So the question, sir, is did you review Dr. Resnick's report prior to authoring your report or coming to your conclusions about diagnosis?
I reviewed part of that report. And in my report, I perused through the reports. I did not review all of that report from Dr. Resnick or Dr. Spinelli, for that matter.
Okay. Now, in talking about your review of records, you indicated that there are several thousand pages of Tewksbury Hospital records, correct?
7,001 page.
And did you review all of those?
I would say I looked through them, but I did not read every word on every page. They do have a tendency to hang together and are replicative as well.
Mm-hmm.
Were you aware that on May 26, 2023, that the defendant was observed by staff in a note stating that she was visible along the unit hallways, self-propelling her wheelchair with her one-to-one staff, that she had a visit with her mother who brought dinner for her, they ate and played games during the visit? Are you aware of that?
On May 26th.
May 26th of 2023.
May 23. So 3 years ago and a few months. I don't know that. I don't remember.
That would have been approximately 4 months after the incident and on the date of Callan's first birthday, right?
Yes, but you asked if I remember that event, and I don't.
You don't, or you do?
I don't remember that she was seen with her mother on that day who brought food, and she was seen using a wheelchair to travel down the hallway at the hospital. I don't remember.
If I tell you that was read from page 176 of the Tewksbury Hospital records, would you agree with that?
I would not doubt that.
And on December 24th of 2023, were you aware that the defendant was observed at Tewksbury, monitored on one-to-one for safety, that she accepted medication, meals, and snacks, she spent time in the TV room or sitting outside her room, utilizing phone, and visited with family? Do you recall that, reading that note on page 613 of the Tewksbury records?
Of 2023?
Yes.
Honestly, I don't.
And that would have been Cora's birthday.
Okay.
But would you agree with me that if I read that from page 613 in the records, that would be within that 7,001 page of the record?
I would not doubt that.
How about on January 24th, 2024, where she's observed in a note from Tewksbury State Hospital on page 674, saying where the note reads, patient was visible in the milieu, engageable with both staff and select peers. Patient accepted select medications as her baseline, that she was pleasant during interactions, self-propelling in wheelchair in the halls, spending much of the morning and early afternoon in her room and hall on her electronics. Do you recall reading that record?
Not specifically.
And January 24th, 2024 would have been the year anniversary of the incident, correct?
Yes.
But if I read from page 674, you would agree with me that that's part of the Tewksbury record?
Yes, I believe it's part of the record.
And on May 26th of 2024, from page 922 of the Tewksbury record, patient monitored one-to-one for safety. She's been monitored for high suicide risks, accepted medication, says BFK and snacks. She spent some time in the TV room or sitting outside her room utilizing phone. Would you agree that that's a fair reading of page 922?
I have no reason to doubt that.
Okay. And that she's also observed on that same day, visible on the unit while utilizing her phone outside her room, was able to make her needs known appropriately. Patient was observed playing dominoes with peers in the TV room. That was later in the day on May 26, 2024, which would have been Callan's second birthday.
I would believe that that record's probably accurate. I don't remember looking at that record specifically.
How about on September 30th of 2024, page 1229 of the Tewksbury record, where it's noted that she was visible in the unit, attended startup/coffee group, she was assisted with ADLs as needed. She was in safe behavioral control for the duration of the shift. And that later it reads, patient visible in the hallways, seated in her wheelchair outside her bedroom, using her cell phone, pleasant upon approach, social with select peers. That would have been on September 30th, 2024, which would have been Dawson's 5th birthday. Do you recall reviewing that in the record?
Not off the top of my head, but I have no reason to doubt that it's not an accurate record.
December 24th, 2024, page 1442 of the Tewksbury records. It says, the patient was visible on the unit utilizing her phone. Her parents were in to visit and they brought dinner with them. Patient accepted medications and fluids. Patient in good behavioral control, maintaining safety. No SIB noted or reported. What do you have reason to doubt that that's on page 1442 of the Tewksbury record?
I have no reason to doubt that that's not an accurate reflection of what took place that day.
And what's SIB?
Self-injurious behavior.
And so December 24th, 2024, that would have been Cora's 7th birthday, right?
Yes.
So January 24th, 2025, from page 1514 of the Tewksbury records, where it reads, inpatient treatment goal, to work on my mental health and to feel better. It says, she participated in morning ADL routine with staff assistance. Patient was visible on the milieu at times in the hallway utilizing her phone. No SIB has been reported this shift. Does that, do you have any reason to doubt that that's contained on page 1514?
I have no reason to doubt that.
And the further observations on that day were that the patient was visible on the unit. She was social with select staff and peers and also seen utilizing her phone. Her parents were in to visit and brought her dinner, and they brought dinner with them. That was, again, on January 24th, 2025, which would have been the second anniversary of this incident, correct?
Yes.
May 26, 2025, page 1782 of the Tewksbury records. It says, she did not engage in any SIB. She was visited by her parents this shift. She attended startup group and watched TV. That would have been on May 26, 2025, which would have been Callan's 3rd birthday. Do you have any reason to doubt that in the record?
I have no reason to doubt that.
And on September 30th, 2025 of the Tewksbury record on page 2056, reads, patient was visible in the hallway using her phone. No SIB or behavioral issues observed or reported. Do you have any doubt? Do you have reason to doubt that that is an accurate read of page 2056?
I have no reason to doubt that that's not accurate.
And that would have been September 30th, which would have been Dawson's 6th birthday, right?
Yes.
And on December 24th of 2025, page 76 of the patient notes in the Tewksbury Hospital records, it reads, ate breakfast, refused lunch, took snacks, utilizing phone, assisted with ADLs, spent some time in the TV room, attended PT, resting in bed after lunch. Do you have any reason to doubt that is contained within the Tewksbury records on page 76?
No.
And December 24th would have been Cora's 8th birthday, correct?
Yes.
And on page 152 of the Tewksbury records, January 24th, 2026, this year. Patient observed for safety, assess mental status, encourage safe behavioral control, monitoring for abrupt behavior change and attempt to prevent escalation or self-harm, encourage patient to participate in groups. But on this particular day, she was also observed compliant with meds, ate breakfast, participated in coffee group, visible in the hallway utilizing her phone, later visited with parents, and had an early lunch. That was on January 24th of 2026. Do you have any reason to doubt that's within the records?
No.
And that she was later observed to not have any SIB or behavioral issues, again on January 24th, 2026. Do you have any reason to doubt that's contained within the Tewksbury records?
No. No.
And again, you reviewed or looked at some of them, but not every one of these. But these are already currently in evidence, correct?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would move to admit these excerpts as the next exhibit, please.
Any objection? No problem. All right, that may be admitted.
Okay, Lauren. So you certainly have some thoughts about this section of testimony. What do you think about all this?
So I think a lot of people would say like, oh, okay, so what? Like, oh, why isn't she doesn't have to be like upset and crying every, second of every day. I think some other people though, especially, if you're in here and you're in a bubble, you're not getting all the online discourse and all that, would think. And I would urge people, when you're thinking about this from the perspective of somebody who's just like looking at what's going on here, think about the reaction to Patrick's kind of body language and everything that was going on with him when he was talking about this stuff, and how people have viciously attacked him and thought that he was guilty as sin because he didn't cry and sob. And listen now to this description of Lindsay as if to a layperson who is, not ever seen anything like this before, it would sound like she's totally fine. Like she doesn't care. That's what some people might think. And I understand that may not be the case, but it certainly could look like that.
I'll tell you what, I was not impressed by this testimony at all. Although I understand how I know what the Commonwealth is trying to do. Mm-hmm. On the birthdays and the anniversaries and all of these things, she appeared to be doing completely fine. She was on her phone. She was playing games. She was talking to her mom. She's participating in coffee group, I think they said, or whatever. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, my wife seldom knows when I'm ever feeling sad or angry or exhausted or anything, and I don't think I'm unique in that regard. I think that most people understand how to navigate their life, and they mask their feelings when they're feeling certain things. I could tell you this, my YouTube name is I'm the Tilted Lawyer. Yeah. The reason why I'm the Tilted Lawyer is because since I was a little boy, since I was like 7 years old, one of the ways that I've always coped with difficult times of life is by playing chess. Mm-hmm. Literally, like when I'm prepping for a trial, when I'm writing a motion, like I'll take like little 6-minute breaks. I'll play like a quick 3-minute blitz game of chess because it centers my brain. It gets my brain off of something else. It just gets it doing something else so that I can't feel the anxiety that I'm feeling, or I can't feel the pain that I'm feeling, so that I can't feel the sadness or the whatever emotion that I'm feeling. It's a distraction in the same way that like you play Fortnite or
how dare you tell people that? No, I'm just kidding.
Or whatever it is that you play. People play video games. I play chess and video games. I play people do things to distract their brain. Some people do other things. I'm just saying that the fact that she was on her phone playing games, interacting with people, is not evidence to me of anything related to the dispositive issues of this case. And so, but you had made mention that this was remarkable testimony. And then I guess my question would be, what about this testimony was remarkable to you as a pretend juror on this case?
Yeah. Well, I think it's totally subjective, but I'm trying to look at this through the lens of somebody who's not used to seeing people going through trauma like this. And so if I'm thinking about a woman who killed her own children, not by accident, with her bare hands, and I'm hearing that she's not crying on their birthdays, and that she's just kind of like, they make it sound like she's kind of hanging out doing fine and she doesn't care. And then even with the phone call where he says she didn't ask about the kids, that sticks out to me. If I'm a juror and I don't know, I'm not, using any background in trauma and how people respond and why somebody might not react that way, that's probably where my brain's going. I'm going to think, wow, she doesn't give a shit.
Well, riddle me this, Batman. If the source of my pain, if the roots of me remembering that my entire life is destroyed is the mention of children, why would I bring that up after the fact, on those specific dates, under those circumstances?
Why would you bring it up, or why would you think about it?
Well, I don't think that she didn't think about it. I just think that why would I bring it up with anybody, knowing that it would necessarily include conversation about that? Oh, how are you feeling? Are you okay? This and that or whatever. Maybe you don't want it to be anybody's business what you're feeling, and so you just don't. It's not that you're not thinking about it, but you just don't talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, when if I was going through something awful, I probably wouldn't talk about it, right? But
you're kind of infamous.
What's up? You good?
You're infamous for that.
So if you are a juror and you have sat through all of this, seen the autopsy photos of her children, listened to Patrick's screams on the 911 call, which we will never hear, and thank God, by the way, because that doesn't need to be public, but reporters have, they weren't allowed to broadcast it, but we have seen transcripts of it, and you've seen all that, and you are now hearing that this woman didn't cry on any of her children's birthday. It's like, you're not really looking potentially at the whole picture. So I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate here, where I'm just like, I'm trying to think of what could be going on in the mind of somebody who's viewing this emotionally and who isn't really thinking about this. Well, everybody's different. Everybody grieves differently. Right. So like, especially if, the jurors, I think most of the jurors are women from what I saw. And if they have kids, they might put themselves in those shoes and just think it's unimaginable. So I think that the emotions, while you're not supposed to be emotional, right, and act emotionally, in this specific case where you just looked at the dead bodies of 3 children killed by their mothers, it could get the better of you. So
I see where you're going with that.
Mm-hmm.
I guess my internal thoughts are simply that I'm not smart enough to understand the complications of every human being. Human beings are complicated. Human emotions are complex.
Well, in a vacuum, it's like if I saw somebody on an anniversary of the worst day of their life, or that reminded them of their worst day, and they were just like not talking about it, and they seemed like they were just getting through the day normally, I wouldn't really think anything nefarious about that, right? But this is not in a vacuum. This is they're constantly being reminded that she strangled her children, including an 8-month-old baby. So you have to remember that we get to like sit here and speculate in a way that's removed, and we get to read different things online that ease our minds sometimes when it comes to some of these harsher realities. The jury doesn't get to do that. The jury is, some of those jurors are probably trying to go to bed at night haunted by the image of a dead 8-month-old child strangled by the mother. So you can't remove emotion from this case, not from this one.
Yeah, that's such a complicated statement for you to make.
Very. Yeah. No, very.
I can tell you this. When I'm at my worst, when I'm going through like the worst of, like when my brain is just racked with anxiety, pain, whatever it is.
Yeah.
My go-to is it's comedy. I'll start like cracking on people. I'll start making fun of people because it's a deflection. It's a get the spotlight off of me. Let's talk about your weird ass face.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, just find a way to not think about things.
Yeah.
Find a way to mask what I'm feeling, because I don't want to invite conversations and it's about what I'm feeling or what you think I should be feeling. It's a complete deflection. And the best way to deflect, I've learned, is to playfully make fun of people.
Yeah.
So that they will kindly just walk away and leave me alone.
So I'll say something that I think some people haven't considered, which is, it goes back to, how people were ragging on Dr. Tufts about her notes, right? So
yes,
when I have seen the progress notes for these patients, they tell you next to nothing. They tell you bare bones, next to nothing. They don't tell you why somebody might have been feeling a certain way, or if they're fine, they don't tell you like, I talked to the patient because it's a hard day for them, but they said they were doing okay. It seemed like they just didn't want to talk. No, they'll just write alert, oriented, cooperative. You don't, like when you're reading charts like this, you don't find these things out. You don't get the depth of humanity from a chart. You know what I mean? But
yeah.
So that also takes away the reasoning that we're thinking like, this is why we would do this. This is why we would react that way. But the jury is having to decide for themselves why someone else would react that way. And that's a very different situation. So.
And the whole discussion that we have for the first 30 minutes of the show about how wayward people's thoughts could go and these things, I get it. And it's problematic.
Sorry, you said first 30 minutes. I was like, are we going to yell at Billy Bush again?
No, we're not. We're never going to talk about him again. I'm just saying that I get it, how a jury, you're nervous about what they might be thinking about stuff like that, because they're not going to have, I don't know what conversations they're going to have, but we're thinking about it a certain kind of way. They might be thinking about it a completely different way, such that Patrick Clancy is in the Epstein files or whatever people are saying.
I don't. I sincerely hope that the jurors don't look at online discourse, because if they do,
I hope not.
these people will probably be like, "What the fuck is going on here?" Like, you know?
Yeah. I want to ask you what you thought about this bit of testimony. I'm going to fast forward to 236.
Okay.
For time's sake. But there was a bit of, I can't see my own screen. Tell me what you think about this bit of testimony.
Does it
I thought
not?
you were going to ask about the bow. My bad.
It depends on the level and the extremism of the psychotic processing. So some people will hear voices that are nominal, they whisper. Some people hear voices that are yelling and screaming. So it's on a range, it's a continuum. So the more upsetting, more powerful, demanding the voice, the more difficult it might be to resist it and do other things. The less, the easier it is.
In all of the time between September of 2022 and January 23rd of 2023, at any point in which the defendant heard these voices about harming herself, she didn't act on them then, did she?
That's correct, yes. She did not act on those. She sought help instead.
That question right there.
Right.
So she
I was
did-
about to comment on that. Yeah.
Yeah, she had these voices, but she didn't act on them back then, right?
Right.
What do you think of that?
I think that's pretty. Honestly, I think that's pretty damning. From a layperson perspective, which most, if not all, of these people are, I think that's pretty damning, because it shows that you can, in fact, control these things. What the prosecution is not going to tell them or ask about is, hey, that's not always the case, right? But they're not going to make that point, because they want it to sound like she was she snapped, or not that she snapped. She didn't snap. She was methodical, and she knew what she was doing, and she could control it. She could seek help, and she has in the past. And she chose this time not to do that. She sent her husband away after looking up the time it would take him to get there and back. She knew she had enough time to do this, and she tried to end her life afterwards. So I think that, honestly, and again, it's really hard not to think of this from a perspective of, like, I know that that's not always how it works. And I know that different episodes for different people with chronic illness like that, they're not all the same. But a juror might look at this and think, wow, you really just didn't care.
I kind of think that's probably a good place to end, just because, I mean, that was the explosive testimony. There was some recross, redirect, and things like that. I mean, they kind of touched on some other things, but that was kind of it. But I thought that question by the Commonwealth, I had mentioned this was their best day. And when I say it was their best day, they asked the obvious question. That might have not been so obvious the way that they were going by, but they found it, which is like, okay, so if she was having these voices and she didn't act on them then what are we doing?
So tell me something. Do you think there's any way they would find her not guilty and just set her free?
That's not how it works in Massachusetts. If they find her not guilty.
The reason I ask you that is because there's somebody who's been badgering me in my chat, suggesting that she definitely didn't do it, and the juror is going to find out that she didn't do it because they can't exclude her having done it versus all other people possible. And I'm like, that's not the argument they're making. They can't randomly decide that.
That's off the table.
Yeah.
Because the jury instructions are going to say that, look, her defense is guilty by reason of non-criminal culpability or reason of insanity. Therefore, she's admitted that she's done it. That's been conceded. There's no world that the jury's going to say, oh, she definitely didn't kill her children. It was Patrick. And therefore she's not guilty. She gets to go home. That's off the table. It's been off the table from day one.
Let me tell you another theory that people have been trying to bring at me, which I think is incredibly stupid. Do you think that her excellent defense attorney would let her say she did it to try to get not guilty, and then they would launch an investigation into her ex-husband? Do you think that's a possibility?
No. Just
because her attorney would not lie like that.
Number one, he wouldn't lie like that, but it's an idiotic proposition. Let's just look, there's a lot of people that believe Patrick Clancy did it without any evidence whatsoever. We could just easily say that it wasn't me, it was my husband, and that would be a stronger defense or an easier
Omar,
thing
he
to
went
prove.
on a hike 3 weeks later, so he's obviously guilty. As if that's not the stupidest thing I've ever heard. These crazy ass people found like a review he left of a hiking trail 3 weeks after this happened. I was like, the first thing that I would do if my entire family died at the hands of another family member is run away. That's not weird.
No.
Is it the healthiest thing to do to run away? No, but it's not weird.
I don't know what people are supposed to do, and I don't know what people normally do. I know it's a mixed bag, and I have no judgment for Patrick for whatever he did after everything happened. I just don't.
I just think anybody
I'm not gonna read
entertaining
into it.
those kinds of theories is like they're either unserious or they're just deeply, like trying to deny that the mother could do this to their.
Well, they're listening to TikTokers and Billy Bush and whoever else is running on with these wild ass theories. They're not based in fact. They're
No, they
just
won't
wild
listen to
speculation.
People have lawyers have tried to explain this to the online communities, and they're like, that's not a possibility. She has admitted to this. She has accepted responsibility. Her lawyer's not denying it. He doesn't have to say she murdered them. We admit
People are
this.
so,
But if he doesn't challenge it, that means she is accepting responsibility, and they think that means there's got to be a whodunit. I'm like, that's not true.
The other lady that was accused of murdering her 3-year-old? It was a Florida case. I think it was like back in 2012.
Yeah. Was it Casey Anthony?
Casey Anthony, yeah. People are funny with this. It's like, one of the prosecution's theories of the case was obviously she didn't give a shit about her kid because like a week after she was a week after her daughter passed away, she's over here being a hoe at the club and dressing all this kind of stuff and being promiscuous and doing all these things, and they were trying to like slut shame her was the narrative back in 2011 or whenever that happened, 2009. Evidence of what people did after tragedy is very rarely dispositive of anything because it's such a mixed bag.
Yeah.
Patrick married some lady that looks like Lindsay. He must be guilty. Or like you said, or he has a type. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's just there was no I really tried to listen to what their reasonings were, and they took little snippets of his testimony in this trial and tried to build up into other things.
Dude, even like the most devastating parts of his testimony, they took it and they're mocking it. They're like, "Oh my god, listen to his fake breathing." And I'm like, you guys are absolutely terrible people. Like, this is a person having a meltdown, like, without crying. The most you could do without crying, he's doing it. And you are sitting there mocking him and saying he must be an abuser. And it's just terrible. So I don't have any respect for anybody who continues to float these theories that Patrick did it, because it's not a theory. You're just being inflammatory and weird.
My live interpretation of Patrick's testimony that I did on my channel was I try to play like the behavioral panelist or whatever, to like read his body language. That guy's lips were like pursed. He looked like he was doing something he really didn't want to do. He looked like a guy that had been avoiding these conversations for a long time. He looked like a guy that was in a lot of pain. There was things that he was saying, and it looked like he was just mechanically going about the business of saying those things because he had to, not because he wanted to. He looked very much like a guy that had experienced tragedy and was being forced to relive something, and he was doing his duty as a witness. That was my read in the moment before all of the conspiracy theories had started.
Look, man, I don't want to be connected to anybody who could see all that and listen and look at all this pain and still recklessly even suggest that happened with no evidence whatsoever. It's one thing to not understand the way things are laid out in testimony, but when people constantly explain it to you and you're like, no, she didn't say that she did it, or no, he must have, and he can be investigated if the defense attorney switches it up in closing statements. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. And the thing is, like, through these first couple of cases that I've covered, they've been people that I knew were guilty or knew were lying based on video evidence, concrete evidence. And so I feel like I was surrounded by people who mostly agreed with me. I mean, I got the occasional troll, right? But now I'm in a situation where I kind of didn't put too much stock in, like, I was connecting with a lot of people that I don't know very well, and I'm seeing a lot of their comments and I'm seeing a lot of their sentiment around this case, and I'm like, I do not want that in my life. And so it's not hatred. It's not like I hate you or whatever, but I've unfollowed, blocked a lot of people in the last couple of days because I'm like, if something ever happened to me or somebody that I loved, these people wouldn't hesitate to pick it apart and be a vulture and say we're guilty. So I don't want that in my life.
It's funny. Like you had pointed out, there was one person in my comments. I normally don't read the troll comments, but there was one person that said, I have a background in law and I have a background in understanding people's emotions.
I saw that.
Like, And then they said something like, if you're not subscribing to the Patrick Clancy conspiracy theories, then you're being intentionally obtuse. And I think I responded with, I also have a background in the law and experience with all the other things that you said, and I disagree. But Godspeed, or I don't know what I said. It was something to that effect. Yeah. But look, man, believe what you want to believe. All I'm saying is there is no tangible evidence tying anything worth discussing to these conspiracy theories. So honestly, proceed in good health, watch for your mental health, take these theories with a grain of salt. Do not get too upset at them and try to defend against. You're wasting your time. The trial is here. We're going to be wrapping up, I'd imagine, within, honestly, looks like we're going to be done within a week or so with the defense's case. And so I think the real question is whether or not Lindsay had the ability to ignore the voices. Now, interestingly, here's what happened today that I wasn't expecting. I was not expecting the defense to go in and say that she could not appreciate the difference between right and wrong when it happened. I did not expect Seisel to say that.
Maybe they should have asked him if he believes that murder is a mortal sin.
So maybe. Maybe that would have been I don't know. But the point is, it's either or of those two prongs, right? Either she couldn't appreciate right from wrong, and or she couldn't conform her behavior to right or wrong, right? They're arguing both. And so the jury has enough to chew on. And so even if I believe that she could have just ignored the voice, if you believe that she couldn't distinguish between right or wrong, which I'm not sure that I believe that, given the evidence that we've seen, she could conceivably be found not guilty on the basis of that. There's a lot to digest. Look, I feel like we don't have enough information still, and we're like almost at the end. I need to hear from more witnesses. I feel like we're probably not going to get many more experts to testify to the dispositive issues in this case. And so we're going to have to work with what we have. And from what I've seen, I'm not decided yet, but I have a reasonable doubt that she might have had psychosis. Honestly, I really do. I have a reasonable doubt. And if that's the standard, I probably lean towards acquittal, but I have severe questions. If it was a civil case, 100%, I'd say, nah, guilty.
Yeah. I think, so I look at it like I've always thought to approach this with an open mind, and I have always thought the prosecution's just not making their case, but the prosecution has done, in my opinion, I'm just like, why did you phrase that like that? Why aren't you be performative, show some damn compassion, even if you don't mean it to the witness, like be polite a little bit. Like there's so many things they could do that would make their case come across better. And I'm like, you could make the case that she's a monster. I could see that, but they're not. And they waited too long to start making sense. So
Tear Dad says, if she could tell the difference between right and wrong, then why did she do this? That's kind of the circular reasoning that I'm also struck. It's not, I don't know. I don't believe that she didn't know right from wrong. Well, I don't believe that she didn't know right from wrong when it happened. Mm-hmm. So for me personally, it boils down to, did she have the ability to say no? That's it. And so you're really asking me to consider whether or not, and honestly, if you watch the trial in The Exorcism of Emily Rose, that so resembles what's going on in this case, not fact for fact. Mm-hmm. But the arguments in that case were basically that, she was demon possessed. And I know I'm butchering it. I haven't seen that movie for like 20 years, but I loved the prosecutor in that movie.
I never watched whatever you're talking about. I avoided movies like that. So
you know what? Don't watch it by yourself. It's genuinely scary. But there's this moment where he objects, Your Honor, objection. Okay, on what grounds? Well, how about silliness, for example? This is bullshit. She's literally saying she's been possessed by demons, and he goes down that whole line. That's what we're considering in this case. To me, this is about she was either, and I'm using that symbolically. I don't believe she was demon possessed, but that would be the equivalent to me. Like she couldn't control her actions. She had to do this because she lacked control. Mm-hmm. I'm not buying that she could not distinguish between right or wrong in the moment. That doesn't make sense to me on any level. But if she's hearing these voices, intermittently for months leading up to it, which sounds like that's what they're trying to say.
Mhm.
And then on the day of, and then she just gave in because she could no longer reject those voices, then that would be the theory in which I would believe the defense's case. So that's where I'm at with this so far.
Yeah.
And we'll see where we're at tomorrow. What do you think of that?
Based on what you just said, I would just urge people one more time, like really think about the theory that you just put forth. How is this family supposed to handle this? She had been having these same symptoms, apparently, whether she reported them or not, apparently, having them for a while, and nothing bad ever happened. She obviously was miserable, but no tragic act ever happened. So how are they supposed to know when they asked all the questions the doctors told them to ask and they did everything that they were supposed to do? How were they supposed to know that she would murder her kids that night?
I'm just not going to put any blame on the family. I'm not. I don't know enough about their family. I refuse to do it.
I'm just so sick of it, dude. Like, it's such a widespread hatred for people who have been through such a loss. And like this person, like, I don't know that she's guilty, so I'm not going to sit here and be inflammatory and say she's a terrible monster or whatever, because I don't know. But so many people are trying to be inflammatory and vent their emotions about this that they don't think that they're talking about real people anymore. And I'm just like, this is sick. It's disgusting.
Yeah. Teardad is right. I think Omar's point is that the issue is uncontrollable compulsion versus free will. Yeah, basically. And I'm framing it as like she was possessed by a demon, because that would be like an example of where I know that was a thing. I'm not saying she was possessed by a demon. I'm just saying that's
You're going to
pretty
get
much
sued. No, I'm just kidding.
totally. Uncontrollable compulsion is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap it up here. Tomorrow's day 17. We're going to resume where we left off today. We'll see where we go. Sam Sarah says that they have another expert witness. I haven't seen that, but I trust her because she's been following this trial every single day. And so it'd be good to hear from another one. I got more questions. We'll see where we go with that.
Was that Sarah the one that was the fan of the prosecutor?
No.
We had one prosecutor fan here earlier. I was like, maybe we have two. I don't know, but okay.
No, I know of two prosecutors at least that are in my chat.
Yeah.
One of them name was Lindsay, and the other one was whoever it is that you saw. But Sam Sarah's not a fan of the prosecution, as far as I.
Listen, I just want to make sure we're making space for a fan section for the prosecution here. You're welcome.
Sure,
I mean,
join the fan club.
People are so mean about the prosecutors. They're like calling them whales, and
I'm not going to go that far.
And all kinds of crazy. I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
And I don't care about their bows and their hair or whatever they're doing.
No.
What do I care?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. We're going to wrap up tonight. I will say this. I will be covering tomorrow. We should probably live stream more often. Might as well.
I'm going to watch tomorrow. I'm going to do this tomorrow. So.
Yeah. And so I may or may not be going on an impromptu trip to Mexico this week or weekend.
You can.
With the wife, because she wants to get a BBL. I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Just seeing if she's paying attention.
That is so much information.
There's nothing like that. I was totally kidding. I was just trying to see if she's paying attention. Because it's way past her bedtime. Anyway, if you don't know Lauren's channel, I don't know how to advertise your channel. It's Lethal Lauren.
Hyperlink.
Oh, the Court of Random Opinion, that's what it is. It used to be the cesspool thing.
The cesspool thing.
You've retired.
If you look up Lethal Lauren 904, you can find it that way. The channel is technically called Court of Random Opinion. I tried to put a hyperlink in, but I don't know if it'll work on StreamYard. So.
Oh, but either way, obviously we're going to
do not come find me at my house. Okay, don't do that.
No, don't do that, and also don't get a BBL. It's not healthy. I was just kidding. It's not a good look either. It's just bad. You know what? Do what you want.
You're floundering right now, and I think it's because you're the one who's getting the BBL.
It's totally me. All right, folks. I love you all. Happy. It's already Thursday. Jesus.
Yeah, it's 2:22 here, so it's time for bed.
Yeah, it's time for bed. I love you all. Have some get some rest. I will see you guys in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Or tomorrow night, rather. Bye-bye.
Bye.